Tom McCaffrey. I'm here with Eric B. LE2B. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Please download this episode if you're just listening on Spotify for free. And please join our Patreon. Give us money, $5, $400, $1,000. If you give $1,000 right now, you get to hang out with me. So it's worth it.
Did you see the thing I sent you? Trump is going to have a
A
big
rally.
rally at Madison Square Garden. They're comparing it to the 1930 Nazi rally that the Bund had or something like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
the tickets are free, and I got a couple, and
Oh,
I sent a link
funny.
to you. Well, the joke is that a lot of people are just going to get tickets and not show up, so the place is half
Oh, yeah,
full.
yeah.
But the
First
problem
of
is,
all,
well,
what the
what
problem? What
the problem is when I signed up, now I'm getting all this Trump texts and stuff. They think I'm a donor.
you keep hearing like every day you just see a new thing with him, and it's like it's like, oh, and he's gone up in the polls, and you're just like, why? Because he danced, he stood on stage for 40 minutes like swaying to YMCA. um
Yeah, but you have to understand right now the polls, the quality polls have her pulling away. They're starting to flood the zone now with these bullshit polls to make it seem
mhm.
closer, and they're definitely doing it with these markets. These where you can bet on things because that used to be a perfect predictor of the winner, and all of a sudden they all jump to Trump in like one day, um, and they're seeing these big purchases, buying Trump to make him look better. It's probably Russians or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, that's probably what it, but still, I mean, it's a lot closer than it should be, like,
It is,
especially
yeah.
when he did that thing. I don't know if you watched that video of him where he's just swaying to music for 40 minutes.
Yeah. So what happened? Right. So he has a rally, and there's a couple of people passed out, and then for some reason he just stopped taking. It was like town hall. He
Hmm.
stopped taking questions, and then he just swayed to music for a while.
And it's so I watched some of the footage, and like, you're kind of like watching in horror, not even in horror, just kind of like, what is this? It's like watching something from, a cult meeting, when they would show those Scientology rallies where you're just like, remember they did a movie where they came out with like never before seen footage of like these rallies with like, fucking David Miscavige and Tom Cruise just acting crazy. And you're just like, oh my God. So he's just kind of swaying, and then it pans out, and the sign says Trump was right about everything, and you're just like, oh my God, this is like that right there was weird how it drove home that like that it was a cult. Like, I knew it was a cult, but that was just like, how do you not look at, how are you not there and not see that? But that's the problem, you're so far gone, you just don't see it. But and I don't know how much you watch it, but it's so, watching him dance to YMCA is just like, I don't know why it angers me so much, but it's like, it gets me so mad. Do you know what I mean? Something about him, the smugness, and then the like, it's like watching someone who's terrible at something and just but has this attitude that they're great at what they're doing. Like, that they're dancing to YMCA so smugly. They look like the biggest idiot loser moron,
Yeah, where he's
and
like,
you can tell he thinks he looks amazing. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, he's just, and then like surround, like that Christy Nome lunatic is next to him, and you can tell even she's kind of like freaked out. Like, she doesn't
yeah.
know what to do. She's just kind of like his hype man, and she's just kind of standing there, and she's doing, and them doing the YMCA acting it out with like seeing them do the with the arms, just that makes me so mad too. I don't know why,
No, it's
but
just everything does.
it's just like watching people who are so lame, not aware of how lame they are. Like, and
Yeah.
you're just, and surrounded by people, enabling it. And it would be like if the band Nelson was like the biggest band in the world right now. Do you remember those
Yeah, of
guys?
course. Yeah.
But it was like, if it's like if they were just the biggest band in the world right now, and I had to watch them every day on TV dancing around, singing their horrible songs like they're the greatest in the world. And they had a 50% of the world was in, or country was into them. And then, like I said, you look and it's like, well, the polls are dead, dead even. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, but it's because it's just two
I
different
know.
realities that they're living in.
I know, but you're not at that and go, what is this? This is just awful. Like no one has any sense of him just looking. He doesn't, but I guess when you're that far, you just don't wake up. You're there, and that's
Right.
what I guess. And it's so horrifying too is that like he's doing this is like the best he's ever done in any
Right.
election. After all of this, and then he just goes and sways to YMCA for an hour, and he gets more support.
Like how are people really falling for this? I mean, we've played this shit before, but I saw this yesterday. Jimmy Kimmel had someone go to one of these MAGA rallies. You want to hear some of the responses?
Yeah, let me guess, they're all morons.
All right. They seem to not know what DEI is, but they don't like it.
But they hate it.
Go Trump! Yeah.
We're trying to get a feel for people where they stand on the issues. Do you believe schools should be teaching critical race theory?
No.
Why not?
I feel like honestly it brings about more racism, bringing more issues around that don't need to be.
What is critical race theory for people that don't understand it?
See, I really don't even know. I'm assuming.
Sorry. That's
That sums it up right there. That's basically some. Let me get but you know what YMCA is, right?
Right. And it basically, though, I don't know if you want to hear the rest of it. It's just basically.
Yeah, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
All right. This is just she's asking them all questions about things and they're giving their opinion and then they admit they don't know what it is.
Can you explain it a little bit to me, honestly?
Yeah. Do you think Americans should ban fracking?
No.
You don't?
No.
Do you feel strongly about fracking?
That's a good question.
Not to drill this point home, but people that are involved in fracking, what are they doing?
I don't know.
Do you think Trump or Harris would be better for the GDP?
Well, Trump's going to be better at anything than her. She can't even speak, let alone look at you. I mean, yeah, she's not good for anything.
In terms of the GDP, do you think she has an understanding of what it is? Do you think she could even define it?
Probably not.
Can you?
No.
Sorry. I just noticed that one thing where she was actually giving that guy help. She goes, not to drill the point home, but you know what fracking
Right.
is? Yeah, that was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, interesting.
She's like giving him a fucking layup. He still doesn't know. There's a few more like that.
I guess that's what I was talking about. The ignorance and the cocksuredness and smugness with the not knowing anything but being completely confident in their ignorance and not care. And that's exactly when he's doing those dances, that's exactly what he's exuding, is that exact energy of like, everyone else is stupid, look at me, I'm dancing to YMCA. You're just like, no, but no, and no one will tell him he's an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one will say, and then that's exactly what the crowd is. It's just morons who don't know anything.
And they they're calling her stupid. They say she can't even speak because they're watching these videos that they've doctored about that they put in slow motion that makes it look like she's drunk. And they think that's real. You know?
I don't think they even need to see that. They just need to hear him saying that.
Right.
And then, like, first of all, and he's what an eloquent speaker he is. I mean, first of all, I mean, and the thing that's really annoying now is like, you probably went through this too, is like, when I watched that rally, there was, I mean, I guess the right people who aren't in the cult were horrified. That's basically what it is. There's people not in the cult and people in the cult. The people not in the cult are looking at it horrified.
Right.
But what's amazing is people are like, can you believe this? And I'm like, he was always like that. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen, I know there's been a diminution, but it wasn't like it hasn't been a huge drop off the cliff. It was always that. So like, I know there's some people like, I can't believe, how much he's deteriorated. I'm like, no, this is exactly what I was seeing from day one. I don't know what he was always dancing to YMCA and he didn't know anything. And he just said weird things.
Yeah, and in 2016, he had no track record. So everything he said, like, I can do this thing, I wouldn't, wave a magic wand. People are like, oh, maybe he can do it. Then he's had 4 years to prove that he didn't. So the only thing he did was cut taxes.
It also is weird because it feels like he's been president for 10 years
I
now.
know.
Like,
I
seriously,
mean,
it's not like he ever went away.
no, they're saying I was reading an article that's saying that he's really like the shadow president, these last few years. That world leaders will go to Biden and they still have to meet with Trump just in case he wins and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
exactly that. And like the other party is completely just beholden to him. So like it's not like
right.
he's been gone. So
Right. It's like if Obama beat Romney and then all of these world leaders kept meeting Romney like a couple
yeah.
of years after the election, and we would be
That's why
able.
again it's so amazing. People are just like, yeah, more. Like he should be, and it's like, really, you want 12 years of this? Really? Just
Yeah.
like
But I'm telling you, so much of this is because why do people look back favorably at the Trump years? Yeah, the economy was good for a couple few of those years, but obviously what I was talking about, the prices were lower, but the prices are always lower, right? That's the whole
right,
thing.
right.
I also think of the other thing too is usually ex-presidents start to get higher favorables because people look back at it and realize they enjoyed it more because they were younger. You always look at times when you were younger, it's better, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, I was younger, I had more hair. I think everything was better. Maybe if he wins again, I'll get my hair back and
I'm
and
surprised he's not saying that.
right.
Like we're like literally a day away from that.
Yeah,
I feel like he's made more ridiculous promises than that. Like you'll get your hair back.
right. But don't you think there's a little bit to that? I think that's why sometimes ex-presidents get this little bump up years later. Even like George W. Bush, they're like, yeah, he was a maniac, but yeah. But when he was president, I was in good shape,
I was 27.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be 27 again.
Don't you think there's something to that though?
Yeah, you know what I know. Did you hear that or did you just
No,
come
I
up
just
with that?
I came up with that, but I don't think it's just the most original thought. I just think that
No, it
people,
makes sense because like
yeah,
I was, I'll think back on horrible times in my life. I was just thinking back recently, but when I thought about how long ago it was, I still don't look at it fondly, but I more look at it as like when I was that age, I wish I hadn't done those things and I had done
right.
more. You know what I mean? I don't. Yeah, that's an interesting. That's probably what it is, and you're right. And
I mean,
it's
let's
like
give
a
an
bad
example.
relationship.
I mean, after 9/11 was a really hard time and stuff. But would you right now want to go back to that time right now if you had the option?
You
2000,
mean
two
like
thousand,
I
2002.
mean, what's funny is like I think about that sometimes about like, people are like, I wish I go back to this time. And like there are definitely times in my life, even really young, that I'm like, I wouldn't want to go back to that just
Right. Yeah.
because knowing
I
all
knew
the
that was
stuff
too far away.
that was
Yeah.
waiting for me. You know what I mean? And not just like in any life where you just don't know things, like did
Yeah.
you ever watch
Well,
you know Twilight? What?
you'd want to go back knowing the stuff you knew now, then you'd be in
I
good
guess
shape.
so, but I just feel like it would just, you have to go through, you know,
Well, you wouldn't be
shit again. Then it's not all great. You
I'd
know
be
what I
loading
mean?
up on Nvidia stock the whole time, so I'd be
Yeah, you're right.
fine.
I wish I would definitely do that. Yeah.
Buying Netflix stock.
Um.
That'd
So
be like a Twilight Zone episode. Like you go back and something doesn't go right.
I feel like that's like they do a lot of movies like Back to the Future. What was it like? Butterfly Effect. Did you ever see that? It's kind of
Yeah.
like that where he keeps going back and doing things differently, but then it was like if you change one thing, everything gets changed, and then he keeps coming back to the present, and it's like worse than it was. Um, so I'm kind of pessimistic about that stuff, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's probably why people, yeah,
Right.
you're
But even
younger
like
and things were
5 years
cheaper.
ago, yeah, and it's things were whatever. It was pre-pandemic. I mean,
But I do.
time.
It is funny. I still remember when he was president. It was like a nightmare. It felt like he's always like it's a hellscape now, and I'm always like, really? I feel like it was kind of a hellscape when he was around.
Yeah, I mean, when he won, I'm like, oh, I just figured he was lazy and wouldn't do much. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
from day one, when he started trying this stuff with the health insurance, I'm like, oh fuck, this guy is out for business, man.
That's the
Yeah,
main thing I'm really worried about.
yeah,
I mean, the gutting Social Security and
yeah.
health insurance because those are the first things gone. So, which
And
is so
that,
funny that you hear these young people are like, yeah, I'm really into them, and it's like, what? I mean, how many times do you have to hear like you're not going to have health? He's just going to take away your
but the
benefits.
scary thing now about it is that he can do all this stuff, and half the country won't even know.
No, I
Half-
know.
he'll take away health insurance and then just blame it on the Democrats somehow, and half the country will be cool with that.
Well, I mean, if you can get away with, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so amazing because I was listening to something recently, but they were like, he has more support now than he ever did in any other election. After January 6th, you can
Yeah.
spin that, because remember when that was like, oh, it's all over, and it's just like, no, he has more support now. After, so it's just kind of like,
I mean,
of course you can
they're,
spin anything.
they're calling it a peaceful transfer of power. I mean, that's the funny thing. It's
I
like,
know they've already leaned into that, and I love that, the fraud thing. They're already been setting it up, and they keep talking about it. It's funny how no one ever makes the points about the fraud, the real points. So like all the Congress people that won, their race. I don't know. I still don't understand how they square that. How
all
some
right,
people on the ballot won, but one guy on the same ballot didn't win. That was all fake. But
right.
they all are fine with their wins.
And
But
only
when
in
he
certain, right,
lost,
right. Only in certain states there were like this. All the Republican senators won, but you lost, right? So that
right.
must
So
be
why doesn't it go to like, well, there's all these like, all these ballots that are stuffed in a bag, and it's like, well, how come you're not taking issue with those ballots were for you? You know what I mean? Like they voted for you on those, but that's okay. But it's just amazing how, like, again, the cognitive, not even cognitive dissonance, just like an outright lie. I mean, they don't even believe it. So it's like, I feel like what's frustrating is that there's so many, blunt, easy, basic explanations to these things, and no one
well,
points them out.
he's counting on this again about the Democrats do the mail-in ballots, and places like Pennsylvania, they're not allowed to count it until election day, which is crazy. They were talking about this again on 60 Minutes. So the same thing that's going to happen this time. They'll have this red mirage, as they call it, where
Yeah.
it's going to look like he's up until they start counting the paper ballots, and they're going to be like, well,
Right.
those don't count.
Right. And they're going to be at 10 p.m. They're going to be like, we won. It's
Right.
like, because they've been voting.
Oh, there's no doubt he's
2
doing it.
hours.
He did it last time. There's no doubt, no matter what happens, he's declaring that he won.
Oh, of course.
Early
yeah. And
on.
it's so funny how
Yeah.
everyone's just going to be like, what? No, he did win again. And it's
Yeah.
just like, so, but that's the other thing. People are just kind of like, I don't know. How are you feeling right now? Like, I mean, it's coming up in like 2.5 weeks. I mean, are you getting
from what
freaked
I'm
out?
reading?
I mean,
No,
I'm
I mean,
terrified.
well, you should be, but I look at the polls and I feel pretty good about it. You have to get away from the noise. There's a lot.
But even if he doesn't win, it's not like
that's the
it.
problem. Yeah. First, you got to win, kind of, and you hopefully
Right.
can win by enough where it's, but they go, well, if she wins by a lot, he won't question it. I'm like, no, it'll be just as bad, probably maybe even worse. Cause
but the thing is, like, we can't live in this country where it has to win by a huge, the country it just disintegrates. You know what I mean?
No, but I think it's even worse if he wins by a lot, because then they go like, there's no way. That's why I think they're doing this thing where they're flooding the zone with these fucking marginal polls, because they
Right.
want to make it look like
there's no way how it was a dead heat.
Right. But now they're looking at the higher quality polls, and they're like, she's starting to pull away. Obama did a lot of good things last week. She's going out there. He's consolidating the black vote. She's, for him, especially the black men vote. She went on that Charlemagne the God, which was probably
Yeah,
good
I was
for her.
listening to that a little bit. Yeah.
She needs that.
And I just listen to these morons call. I'm so sick and tired of listening to undecided morons. It's just they're asking questions where you're just like, and the thing is, I guarantee she's just kind of like gritting her teeth, and it's just like, I can't explain foreign policy to you. You know what I mean? Do you want me to explain? Like, they're like, I don't know. Like the question, for me to vote for you is like, why are we going to spend money? Why are we giving money to other countries? Like, shouldn't we be, doing like America first? And it's like, how can she explain the whole thing about Ukraine, giving money to Ukraine, which people just don't understand what that is. You know what I mean? They understand that, like, you have to stand with your democratic allies against these dictator autocrat superpowers who are trying to take over the entire world. So it's kind of like, you can't sit there and be like, well, if we don't support our allies or our democratic allies, then he's going to go into another country and then take over Europe. I don't know if you ever heard about the Nazis and Hitler, and and then there's going to be a time where we are going to have to go to war because they're taking over the entire world.
But you see what they're doing already. They're having some of these weird historians now are talking about how, there's one guy who went on Tucker Carlson who said that we started World War II, or Churchill.
Right.
You could they just living in an alternate reality. You can't You
I know.
can't break
How do you
through
fight?
that.
It's like, how do you play? It's like playing a football game where one side has decided to bring their own ball and not,
Right.
not follow the rules and just be like, oh, I threw the ball to him. That means 50 points. You're like, no, that's how it is now. And it's just like, how do you exist in that where one side is just like not playing by the rules that everyone's agreed to?
Yeah, I mean, even all this abortion stuff where like all these stories are coming out about these women who are miscarrying and have sepsis or whatever, and they don't know any of these stories. They don't know any of
the
these
other thing
stories.
though, were people always this dumb and uninformed? Like, when you hear the thing you were playing where they're like, yeah, she's dumb. She doesn't know GDP. What is that? I don't know. But like, were people always? I feel like there has been obviously a dumbing down
I
that's been
think
going on a while.
it's just social media and the internet. I mean, there's no universal truth anymore. I mean, the good thing about newspapers and magazines and stuff is that like they had to be filtered. They had to worry about defamation and things like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
they had to get sources.
That's true. But the thing is, I do think that's true. There are two realities where people are living in their own ecosystem. But at the same time, it seems like his supporters in that world, not only they're getting other information, they don't know they don't know things. Like, it's one thing if you're like, well, this is what's affecting GDP,
Right.
but they don't even know what that is, or like she's DEI, and then it's like,
Right.
okay, I understand you're getting other facts about that, but you don't even know what that is. So it's kind of like it's also like completely. It's the bold ignorance, and that's what I was trying to say.
Well, they're
before,
just getting whatever news they're getting. They're just getting fed in snippets and headlines and stuff like that. They don't know what any of these things mean.
And I feel like people when I feel like when I don't know things, I'm a lot more humble about it and modest. Like,
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. But there's this thing now where people are like, and it's very American of like, and I guess it's not new, just being proud of not knowing things, just being stupid and like proud of it. Like, that's like a good trait now. Like,
Well,
I don't know what that
I don't.
is.
Yeah, I think people like. Yeah, you just learned that in the mainstream media. I do my own research and look for other things. So I don't think people actually claim to be stupid. It's just they're looking in different places, and because you don't know that stuff, that makes you stupid. So
I do think, but I think you're right. But I do think there is an aspect of like being like, I don't know that, but that is, and fuck you, I don't care, because it's like instead of it, and it makes sense if you're really dumb to like support Trump, because it's like it's really easy to, it's so much easier to just be dumb and not do anything. You know what I mean? To just be lazy.
I'll play a little more of this because it's pretty funny. You want to hear a little more?
Do you think we need to keep socialism out of the government?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. Don't end up like Canada. No.
How about Marxism?
Marxism? No.
You don't think we should?
Nah.
For people that don't understand Marxism, how would you even describe it to them?
Marxism, it's putting a point on somebody that, it's kind of a judgment thing. It's kind of basically, it's a stereotype.
Right. Do you believe the deep state needs to be stopped?
Deep state. Yeah, but how do you do it? Who knows? It's like saying we need to sweep the sand at the beach. I mean,
What is the deep state?
Good question. Do you know it? I don't know. I've never met them yet. They're real secretive, some bitches.
A lot of people have conflicting feelings about DEI. Is there? What's your main takeaway?
DEI, I think it's a good thing as long as you don't misuse it. When you misuse it, then I think it's a bad situation.
What is it? What does it stand for?
The DEI?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
Do you think we should ban?
Sorry.
Yeah, those deep state, they're free fuckers. They're way deep. You never hear about them. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of.
But this guy was kind of talking about it. Like, he kind of realized that he had to go in the middle there. So it's like, it can be a good thing sometimes, but he had no fucking clue.
Yeah.
There was
it is funny when you can tell when someone doesn't know something when they're answering, because they're the octave of their voice goes really high. Like, like, it's just kind of like, it's an interesting human trait. Like,
Yeah, later on, she keeps asking about DEI, and people start to think. I think they think it's some branch of the government, like DEA or something like that. They're talking about it like
Well,
that.
and it's funny. What he does is he doesn't know things, and instead of saying he doesn't know them, he just starts talking about Hannibal Lecter. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or he'll be like, "I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter what it is." Because I don't know if you've watched. I've seen. He does this thing now where he doesn't. He's always done it, but he's like, it's the weave where he doesn't answer the question, and he just pivots into like gripes that he has. Like they'll be like, "So, what are you going to do about inflation?" Like someone said, like, "How are you going to help small businesses?" And he's like, I don't know how he did it, but all of a sudden he was talking about voter fraud in Georgia.
Right. Well, he's doing this new thing where he rambles, and then he says, someone, I guess one of his people said, "Oh, you do this weave thing." He calls it weaving, where I
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
nonsense and then I get back to the point at the end. And I'm like, but you don't even do that. You never get back to the thing. You just fucking ramble.
No, he doesn't get to the point. He just says he ends it with the weave. I saying that's the weave just
Yeah.
by not doing. And it's so bad that like now with saying it's the weave, he's basically acknowledging that he's not answering questions.
Right.
So it's one thing where you're answering around, you're dancing around the answer, but it's like, and you're not calling attention to it. He's basically like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm not answering anything.
Well,
So
let me play this one other thing. So this was he did this. Did you see this thing when he was with Bloom? Did you see this?
with what?
Hold on a sec. Hello?
Yeah. Hey, are you there?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know why I'm acting like the phone. Yeah, he was on this thing with this Bloomberg News. It was a economic club of Chicago. This was yesterday, and they're asking him about tariffs. And I don't know if you want to hear him. I think he thought this person was going to be very sympathetic to him. He was not. He was actually
like play some of it. I think
I mean, he was asking follow-up questions and stuff
but
like
the guy
that.
was like, did he keep saying like, I asked you about Russia?
Right. Well, no, it's more about economics. This is about tariffs.
Critics say your tariffs will end up being like a national sales tax.
No,
because
the countries will pay.
If you have America at the moment has $3 trillion worth of imports, you're going to add tariffs to every single one of them. That is going to push up the cost for all those people who want to buy foreign goods.
No, what's going to happen?
That is just simple mathematics, President Trump.
It's not. Yeah, it is, but not the way you figure it. I was always very good at mathematics.
Yes.
Let me tell you, you're saying $3 trillion.
That's
Those companies,
$3 trillion worth of
and they don't
imports.
have to pay. And if the higher the tariff, the more likely it is to have them come into the country.
The higher the tariff, the more you're going to put on the value of that piece, those goods, the higher people are going to have to pay in shops.
Ready? The higher the tariff.
Sorry, he just doesn't seem to understand what tariffs are.
Does he not understand it? Because I feel like I even understand it, and I didn't really know much about it. Because basically, all right, so let me break it down. Basically, if you put a tariff, that's basically they're exporting goods to the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're making the company here that's buying it, importing it, you're making them pay more for it.
Right. Now, the reason
so
why
they have to make that up with their customers.
Right. So I think they were originally started back in the day when the Japanese were importing cars to this country, and the cars were much cheaper than the American cars. So in a way to stop the American car companies from being destroyed, they added a tariff, which increased the price of the Japanese cars.
Right.
But they'll do this a lot of times to kind of just make the pricing fair.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say that all these people that you hear, because it's funny hearing these people that are like, well, you might not like what he says or what he does, like overthrowing the government and lying about everything. And, his policy of, retribution on all his enemies and locking people up in camps. But it's a business decision for me. You know what I mean? He's clearly like a great business. The whole this whole businessman that narrative of him that like no one seems to ever. But it's like clearly it's like you're just racist and a misogynist. That's like all this is.
Yeah, and this stuff. I mean, tariffs in a way can work in certain ways, but the way he wants to do it is just add such high tariffs that they're going to raise their rates so much that it's going to cause inflation again in this country. Also, what he doesn't talk about is trade wars. The second we put a tariff on something, they're going to put like China will put a tariff on some of our goods. so we export. And we're, our farmers are going to lose money. That's another thing. So he doesn't
Well, I don't
understand.
understand with these people, these great business minds. Like, obviously, they have some, they're business savvy, but why do they think that putting tariffs on your company,
But
basically taxing your company and like putting the economy into free falling
but
chaos, how that's going to help
but
your
this
business?
is small time people. Real economic people know this is a disaster. Um,
No, but there's
th-
a lot of big business, people that really support it.
Not really. I mean, if you go through it, like the top economics guys, they're all against this. Anyone who's probably for the
Well, I guess it's a term that people use. Not they might not. They're probably not business people. Like I guess that fucking. It's funny how none of them will ever, no matter what, he can like, kill their kids, rape their wives,
yeah.
and they're just like, yeah, I mean, you might not like him, but his policies. I really like his policies. Like
I
the
mean that
Georgia guy was like,
right.
yeah, well, you know what? Say what you will about him, but he's a great businessman. It's
But
like,
that's the thing. It's that these economics guys, economists, this is they weren't going to let him off the hook on this. And this is a Trump audience, but they also know that his ideas are terrible for business. I'll play a little bit more just because this is when he starts yelling at the guy or something.
it's just when he's
The
like, the Wall
more
Street Journal's
likely
been
it
wrong.
is that the company will come into the United States and build a factory in the United States so it doesn't have to pay the tariff.
That will take many,
No,
that will
it'll
take
go
many
quickly.
years.
In fact, I'll tell you, there's another theory is that the tariff, you make it so high, so horrible, so obnoxious that they'll come right away. When I do the 10%, 10% is really, first of all, 10% when you collect it is hundreds of billions of dollars. The numbers that you're talking, all reducing our deficit. But really, so there's two ways of looking at a tariff. You can do it as a money-making instrument, or you can do it as something to get the companies. Now, if you want the companies to come in, the tariff has to be a lot higher than 10% because 10% is not enough. Guys, they're not going to do it for 10.
All right.
Did you understand any of that? Did
No,
he understand it?
yeah,
I mean, what?
didn't. Yeah, it didn't have the part where the guy called him out and he said, "You're wrong." Trump said, "You
Well,
don't know
he
what you're
said
talking about."
you're always wrong about everything. The Wall Street Journal is wrong about
Right.
everything. The Wall Street Journal has been wrong about everything, but
Right.
he's right about and it's not a cult.
And by the way, the Wall Street Journal is a very conservative paper.
I
and
know.
Rupert
So
Murdoch.
it's just like, and it's just amazing. Just and that none of them will have any, you know, balls to stand up to him. These guys, like the fact that, again, like I said, like Ted Cruz and all these guys, like I say, just like pisses in their wives' faces, and they're just like, yeah, say what you will about him. He's a little quirky, and it's just like, and then like he does sound worse, and I mean, it's like nauseating to you, and he just doesn't speak well, and he never says. Did you stop? Did you stop the recording? So I don't know what I was saying. Something about he's dumb or something. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what. Like I said, it's just terrifying. It's terrifying.
Oh God.
He yeah, but like that I think that rally yesterday, I think it was like Oaks, Pennsylvania, was just horrifying. And just watching the whole scene with Christy Nome, who's basically been put on the map for murdering dogs, and it's just like, this is a dead heat.
Yeah.
There's like a psychotic person just dancing to YMCA next to a dog, a proud dog killer, like bragging about murdering dogs. Doing the YMCA thing like they're at a fucking karaoke night or something. But I what I was saying before is that like it would be easier to be like a Trump, supporter, because it's just easier to be ignorant and stupid and lazy and just be like, well, this guy's going to do everything, you know what I mean, and not have to do any work. And he's just like, don't worry about it, because it is easier to like follow a dictator or follow a cult leader because they're like, I'm going to solve everything. Don't worry, I take care of everything, as opposed to like the other side that's like, the other candidate is like, we got to get to work, like she's like, we got to get to work, we got to do this, we got and people don't like that, especially when you're dumb and you're uneducated. It's like, get to work. What do you mean get to work? Like, this guy's gonna do everything.
Do you think he's gonna like spend the first few months just trying to throw people in jail? I could see him trying to do that.
Yeah, I think that's it's going to be. First of all, he's so like deteriorating so quickly. I mean, no one's talking about how he's like 80 years old. I mean, he's going to be like 80 years old in like a little over a year. So it's like
Yeah.
he'll
Biden
spend
was too old though, but he's not.
right, but like but I guess they're like, well, Biden seems a lot older. Why? Because he doesn't dye his hair orange and put like blackface on. I mean, I get, but like so I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think what if he
I
gets
mean,
in? I mean, it's like he's beholden to nothing. It's literally just being like, you can do anything you want, dude, and it doesn't matter. Just
yeah.
anything you want to do. Everyone's going to forget about it in a year and a half. Like murder anyone you want. Like, I think he is going to call out the military on citizens. I
Yeah.
do. They're going to round up, immigrants and put them in. I mean, it's going to be like, the thing. I know, like some people are like, well, I'm confident she's going to win, but like the fact that like we're like 2% away from like Hitler is like should be terrifying to people.
Yeah.
It's kind of I don't take any like comfort in like, well, she's up by 2 points, whatever. So what?
Yeah.
Hitler won't be president. You know what I mean? It's like, but it is one of these things that I mean, I don't want him to win, but it's just kind of like, what is going to wake people up finally and like maybe turn people around? Is just everything have to like be burned to the ground and like,
but everything will be burned to the ground. People won't know anyway. They
I
won't
know,
know anyway.
and
I mean,
they'll be burned to the ground and they'll just be like, whatever. They'll be like, Kamala did it or Biden
right.
did it.
Like with the hurricanes. I mean, that was the biggest lie they probably ever told. They're like, they're not doing anything, and you can't combat that. I mean, if they want to believe that,
Yeah.
I don't know what you do there, I mean,
culturally, we're just at a place where like a huge part of the like 50% of the electorate is just literally, it's not even like, it's partly that they're misinformed and dumb and they're in a cult, but part of it is also like, fuck you. Yeah, fuck you. I'm voting for him. I don't give he dances around, doesn't know anything. Fuck you. Good. I hope he burns down your house. You know what I mean? Like
owning
that's
the
where
libs.
we
It's
are.
all it's about, owning the libs.
Literally, that's what it's. And I even feel, and it is amazing how even somewhat educated and smart people can get caught up in emotions that way. You know what I mean? Because people underestimate how like emotional people get about things where they're just like, well, I hate her. I hate the Dems so much. I don't care. Fine. I want him to like burn everything to the ground. Like fuck them. But it's like we're literally like 4,000. Like if 700 people in Pennsylvania don't vote one way, it's over. You know what I mean? Like it's not very comforting to know that everything is in the hands of some stupid people in Pennsylvania.
I was reading this article. It was really interesting. This guy who was talking about how bad the electoral college is, how it's so unfair because people only care about a certain amount of states and stuff. And he made this great point, which I didn't know. So in North Carolina, they got kind of ripped apart by the hurricane, right? And everyone was talking about it because they're a swing state, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee got hammered too, but it's deep red. No one gives a fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
No one.
It's only the swing states,
right? You didn't hear one story about that, and they're like, "That's kind of sad. That's really sad." I mean, in that respect, it hurts the Republicans because they live in Tennessee, but it just shows you they don't care. If you're not in one of those states, no one gives a fuck about you. Your vote doesn't, we can run
and
up.
They're still voting, and they're still voting that way. Yeah, this is my guy. He's going to show you guys.
There's not one person out there that doesn't think she's going to win the popular vote. She is definitely winning the popular vote.
Of course, yeah. I would win the popular vote against him.
So so more people want her, no matter what. And somehow he could still win. And even when he does win, he'll say the same thing. Like, yeah, she beat me by 4 million votes, but they were all illegal immigrants. Remember, he said that in 2016, 17.
Yeah. He complained about the one he won.
Right.
But I guess, he's kind of like, well, whatever. People are saying she got more votes. No, I win everything. It's just like there's just everything that happens. But again, like seeing that.
Well, I think he made
the fact that your slogan is Trump was right about everything. And it's just this weird, like just living in this, like having to live in this reality that is just like, what? Like, that's not weird to people. And then like the fact that like Ted Cruz is I guess he's like kind of dead even with this other guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like that right there is just another thing of like, really, like this is a contest. Like you want this fucking guy, but everyone's just so far up their asses. Like in Texas, like, well, who else would I vote for?
Yeah, how about the guy who's not shitty and goes to Cancun when your place is fucking on, freezing and stuff? Or the guy, I mean, the guy torched him. That Allred. Did you see the
Yeah.
debate?
I saw like clips of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the abortion stuff. It's like, and I'm sure that resonates in Texas because you can't. The abortion laws there are horrible now.
I just
Yeah.
was in Texas and it's like, I was walking down this like neighborhood. They have, people get into their Halloween decorations, they get really elaborate. And I was like walking by with my girlfriend. We're like, wow, that's like really scary. And then like the scariest thing we saw was like Ted Cruz and Trump van signs. Like literally, those were the most horrifying.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, that's the most horrifying. Like literally, like stay away from that fucking house.
Yeah.
Like let's go to the house with like the dead skeletons on the front lawn. Like
that's pretty funny.
But it was terrifying. There's like, you kind of get out of a major city. I mean, Dallas is a big city, but you just go and you kind of you think that there's common sense and that people would be able to see through things, and you're just like, nope, these are like wealthy, successful, educated people, and they're just like Trump Vance, yeah, Ted Cruz, and you're just like, really, why? What is it about them that you just love so much?
I mean, even Ted Cruz. I mean, like, I could see why people in Texas really don't like Ted Cruz. They know he sucks. They just know he's a Republican. But I mean, I mean, Trump said his wife was ugly, and he still endorsed Trump. I mean, he has no spine.
I know none of them. That's what I mean. It's not even just like, oh, his policy. It's just like him as a person is just so like nauseating and repugnant, and he's just so nothing. And I mean, Allred's like a pretty charismatic guy. You know what I mean? Was he like a football player? I mean, he just seems like, and they're always like, we're in like masculinity, real man's man, out here in Texas, like, I don't want some girly man, and it's like fucking who's the more manly guy? Ted Cruz is the manly guy in this battle. The guy who's known for, I mean, he did kind of cut, and then he tried to humiliate him again. I guess he did with the January 6th, where he was like, well, I was there and I was trying to help people. I took off my jacket and I buried, and I fought back, and he was hiding in a broom closet, and he's like shaking his head no. And it's like, Ted Cruz said that himself, that's what he was doing.
Was he really hiding in a broom closet?
He was hiding in like a closet somewhere. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But he said that it's not like that guy made that up. That's like a real thing,
which, it's probably true,
Of course, they're all total put. Trump is the biggest pussy of them all. He's like just a typical bully. Just it's all bluster and doesn't back anything up with anything. It's just like, you're all stupid. I don't know. Like that doesn't get annoying. Like everyone's stupid. I'm the best. I mean, ever have a friend like that who's just they're such a dick. Like they're always like, I'm the greatest, and everyone's dumb. Like
right. And even his supporters, like they said, oh, he shits in his pants and he wears diapers, and then his supporters were wearing diapers, going, the real men wear diapers. I'm like, that is the last thing real men wear. I mean, you're admitting that he shits in his pants and he's wearing diapers, and you're cool with that.
I can't believe they're admitting that, because it goes so along with the autocrat, playbook, where they're like, I don't even shit.
Well, I thought the funniest thing of the week is when they were saying that it's Bob Woodward's book, and in the book it says that Trump sent COVID tests to Putin at the beginning of the pandemic when we were short on them, and they were like, no, he's lying, and the Kremlin said, no, he sent us this. They said it.
Oh, yeah. Basically, yeah.
They said it. They said he sent us COVID tests. And then they're still like, no, it's not true. I'm like, but they're
lying.
It's lying.
Yeah, that's
But all right, we'll wrap it up soon. But you have anything real quick you want to say about Joker 2?
Yeah, let's get into the real meat of this.
Because that seems like a fucking horrible movie. I mean, is it a musical?
So first of all, did you like Joker?
Yeah, it was King of Comedy. I liked it the first time I saw it, when it was the King of Comedy.
Well, it was like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. And actually, when I thought of that, it like makes sense why this was so bad. Was like, oh, he copied King of Comedy and Taxi Driver, and then this one he didn't have anything to copy again. So it was just kind of like, okay, now I have to write a thing. Okay, I mean. I went into it, I heard it was
so
bad,
he copied his Star is Born. That's where he wanted to, or whatever.
No, I wish. That's a great fucking movie.
Yeah.
But I don't. He copied nothing. I don't know if you've been reading about it, but like a lot of people were kind of mad about it because it's not just like it's bad. It's almost like again, it's like a fuck you movie to the
Right.
audience because the whole thing was like, he didn't like superhero movies, which whatever. I don't either. But and then he didn't want to do the sequel. They like made him do this. I love how like these things. It's like just cry me a fucking river. What they made you make a fucking $200 million movie. And I understand you don't like superhero movies, but like the answer isn't to just make a shit movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like why don't you make a good movie that's not like a superhero movie?
I mean, my feeling is that they probably because that last movie made so much money that what do they give? Do they call that final cut? Maybe they gave him that and stuff like that, where they can't really interfere.
Yeah, that is what happened.
Probably, yeah. So I'm assuming if he ever gets to make another movie, Todd Phillips, his budget will be about $100. They're not gonna.
Yeah, you know what? He'll probably be in movie jail, but not for that long. I
Yeah,
feel like if you're a dude, they kind of like give you a lot of chances. That's
but
kind of the
he'll have
unfairness
to
of.
just make his bones with like a new Hangover that's low budget that kills it.
They're not going to let him do what he did. They're
Yeah.
not going to give him another blank check. This happens a lot where like someone has a huge hit and then it's like a blank check. They're like the next, and it's like it always goes wrong. It's
Yeah.
always like Kevin Costner did the fucking Dances with Wolves, and it was like, oh my god. Then he makes the fucking Postman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they just don't have it in. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of these guys they have like. I mean, Todd Phillips is. I think he's fine, but even Joe, I like Joker, even though it's weird. This has kind of brought out like I feel like with this one being so bad, everyone. I feel like I've heard so many people be like, I hated Joker, and I'm like, really? I thought everyone liked Joker.
People love that. That's bullshit. They're just now just, I guess,
I
trying
don't
to.
know though. A lot of people are like, I listen to a lot of podcasts about movies, and they're like, I didn't like Joker. I don't know. I think people say that because it's like a shittier Taxi Driver, but
How bad was
but
this movie, by the way?
I went in I heard it was bad, but it made me want to see it more, kind of pique my interest because a lot of times I like things that people don't like, but it's one of those movies where like 30 minutes in, I was like, I don't understand. This is okay. And then about an hour in, I was like, okay. You ever had that feeling you're watching a movie and about an hour in, you're kind of like waiting for it to get good still? You're like, might get good. And then like an hour, 20 minutes, you're like, I think this is going to be bad. This isn't going to get good in the last hour. And it's just long. There's like no plot. It's barely any plot. He barely laughs in the movie.
And they're singing it. Is he singing in it?
They're both singing, and
Oh my
that's the
God.
thing. It's like a musical, but it's like badly done, and it's almost like I think he was trying to do a musical something different, but like he didn't know how to. I don't think it's just that easy to make a musical like seamlessly. Um, Joaquin Phoenix is like really good in it. Lady Gaga, I guess, is good in it, but it's just like nothing happens. And then like, remember the iconic image of him on the stairs dancing?
Yeah.
So in the trailer for this one, they have a shot of him and Lady Gaga doing that, dancing on the stairs, like kind of as an homage. It's not even in the fucking movie. That right there.
Yeah,
Right?
I used to remember movies where you would see something in the trailer and it would never be in the film, and you're like,
But the thing is, like, that's such an iconic image from the first one that clearly they put it in the trailer to be like, oh, look, now there's going to be a callback to that.
Right.
And now it's him and Lady Gaga. And then to just be like, yeah, we're not going to have that thing that like literally is the main set piece of the trailer. Like, I feel like that sums up the movie. Like, fuck you. You're not going to put that in the movie. Why?
would a movie have been better if it would just been 2 hours of them just going up and down the stairs?
I mean, probably. It's basically like I can't even tell you. If you asked me what that movie was about, I couldn't even tell you.
Wow.
It's like he's in jail and he meets Lady Gaga, and then they sing a lot, and then
How fast is
he
this going
goes
to
to
be?
court.
How fast is this going to be on streaming?
It's gonna. I just read today they're releasing it immediately because it's such a debacle. No, because they're like, fuck it, we have to get it out there because this is the time to release it because people are going to be so interested to see how bad it really is.
Right.
But it's really bad. Like there were in the middle of the movie, there were a few people and I was like, I could see people walking out of this if I was just again because most people are really dumb. So it's a very kind of like challenging. I feel like Todd Phillips' attitude was like, I made a movie, I had a message with it. people took the message the wrong way. I'm pissed that people took it the wrong way. It's kind of like, when you like the Beastie Boys always talk about when they came out, they were kind of making fun of a
Right.
certain type of culture. And then those people didn't get the joke and they liked it. And then they hated that was their audience. And they were kind of like, fuck you, because we didn't want you guys to like this.